Welcome to our In Focus discussion tonight on National Coming Out Day, which falls on October 11th. But we'd like to preview it tonight with the Utah Pride Center hosting its second annual Road Rally Sunday in honor of the holiday. It's a time to commemorate the process of coming out for our LGBTQ plus friends and family who are ready to live their most authentic self and celebrate their gender and sexual identities. Tonight we will hear from individuals sharing their personal experiences of coming out and learn more about the local event taking place this weekend. Kicking off our conversation tonight is Stacey Jackson-Roberts, the CEO of the Utah Pride Center, and Tanya Hawkins, the board vice chair for the Utah Pride Center. And thank you both for being here tonight and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Stacey, first of all, congratulations on your new role as the CEO of the Utah Pride Center. We'd like to get to know you a little bit more. Could you tell us briefly about the work you've been doing over the last 20 years in Washington, D.C.?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm a Utah native. After graduating from Utah State University in 2003, I returned to the D.C. area, where I've been really working on access to health care, both as a clinician and on law and policy issues in relation to health care for LGBTQ people and BIPOC people.
So what motivated you to come back to Utah after working in Washington, D.C. for 20 years?
You know, I really have increasingly felt this sense of urgency to return to my native and beloved state of Utah, to really contribute to the efforts here to make Utah the inclusive state and affirming state that I know it can be, and in many ways has become. You know, things have changed so much in the past 20 years, and I know that there's still a lot of work to do, but I'm really excited to really get to work for all the little Stacys out there like I was when I was growing up in rural southern Utah.
We're excited to have you back. Want to just give you a warm welcome back home. Now, Tanya, the jumping off point for our conversation tonight is National Coming Out Day. Would you be willing to share a little bit about your own coming out story? You can share as little or as much as you want at your own comfort level.
Well, being brought up here in Utah, being a black lesbian, woman, it was hard because you're in Utah. I wasn't part of the religion. I wasn't Mormon. I'm Catholic. I just was not accepted. So I was looking for groups that would like me, but there's nobody out there when I was coming up and coming out. So why I'm here and why I'm at the board is to bring in people, to bring in the little BIPOC people, the youth, the elders, and just say, hey, we're here. We understand you. Please, share. It's confidential. Everything's confidential when they talk to us. So that's all I have at the moment.
No, that's fine. It was all at your own comfort level. And I think you bring up a good point, is that under the LGBTQ plus umbrella, right, there's all these intersectionalities.
Yes.
And every single one of those intersectionalities, they have their own unique experiences. That's why we need people from all sorts of backgrounds and upbringings, right, to join this effort to just improve the quality of lives, really, for our LGBTQ plus friends and family. Stacey, what about you? You can share as little or as much as you want about your coming out story.
Well, I think that's just it, is many people experience coming out as, having both highlights and lowlights. There are things that were really painful about my coming out, and there were really amazing things. My mom was a convert to Mormonism, and she didn't want me to experience that rejection that she experienced initially with her family when she converted to Mormonism. So she was there for every single surgery, and it was really amazing to have have that support from her. And yet also it's an amazing arc as I came out and transitioned. My dad really had some challenges with it. Being a born and raised LDS, cattle ranching farmer and whatnot, he had some challenges. And yet it's the arc of that is both of them came back east to help me really get my house into order, get it on the market. My dad and I worked really hard for an exhausting week getting the house ready. And that relationship has really kind of grown and blossomed as I've been able to live my authentic self. So I think that's part of this, is really being able to come out and be affirmed and grow through these experiences. And I've been able to watch that in all sorts of people around me, people that I grew up with, that as they've come to know me and see the authentic self.
Thank you both for being just vulnerable and personal with us, but that's what we love about the shows. We have people all the time come on who share their experiences, and it allows people at home, those who are still maybe in fear, who don't feel supported, right, to be able to live their authentic selves and break down stigmas that still exist. Stacy, the Utah Pride Center will be holding its second annual road rally on Sundays, but we'll get into the logistics later on in the show. I'd like to talk about the history and the background of National Coming Out Day. Do you know when the holiday started and how the celebrations evolved from there?
Sure, its roots go back to 1987 with the March on Washington for Gay and Lesbian Rights. That happened on October 11th, 1987. And really, it goes back to kind of a feminist tradition of the personal is political. As LGBT individuals, you know, growing up in a heteronormative, cis-normative society, we're often confronting that, and so part of the coming out process is really kind of living our authentic selves, being able to connect with others like us, and really kind of it creates that political dynamic when others are really kind of challenging our lived experiences. There was an incident yesterday at the State Board of Education where a 13-year-old was trying to share their lived experience of who they were, and the adults there were just trying to drown them out by singing and not really hearing this person's lived experience. And that type of confrontation is really kind of a violent attack on these young people as they're just trying to live their lives and be healthy. And particularly in a state where we have such a high suicide rate amongst young people, that's really troubling, and that's where our critical work lies. And so this event, coming out as allies and community members, showing that there is room for support and this amazing community is really critical. And this event really helps us raise money for our life-saving services, including mental health services, suicide prevention services, youth and family services, as families come to terms with helping and affirming their kids. So come out, help us celebrate. It's going to be a fun event. We're trying to raise $150,000. We would love for you to go to our website, utahpridecenter.org, and register and join us on Sunday.
Still a lot to get into. Stacy and Tanya, hold that thought. We have to take a quick commercial break, but when we return, we'll resume our In Focus discussion on National Coming Out Day. Thanks for staying with us for our second In Focus discussion tonight on National Coming Out Day. We pick up now with Stacey Jackson-Roberts and Tanya Hawkins from the Utah Pride Center. We will start this conversation with you, Tanya. Last year, the Utah Pride Center was faced with the constraints of the COVID-19 pandemic. How did your organization adapt to those safety concerns so that you could continue to put on something to make our LGBTQ+ community feel seen, recognized, and celebrated?
Rosie, it was just a collaboration of all the employees, or our staff of 14 people. I'd have to say John Johnson came up with this idea. He wanted the LGBTQ community to be participants of and see that we support them and come out and, oh my goodness, and I don't know, just celebrate themselves. Knowing that we have elders and youth who have not been out of the house, have not been able to do anything, but now we have this road rally, and now they can see their friends through cars, they can wave to people and have that connection. It was just a tough year, but our staff was amazing. I mean, they were amazing, and doing this last year was just very emotional, watching them, watching the elders and the youth, well, everybody, our allies, come out and just all celebrate. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and you can see this is video from last year's event, and I just loved how creative all of you got. You can see that people were still able to social distance in their cars, and it went so well that you're bringing it back this year and making it an annual event.
Right.
Stacy, it's been a tough year in Utah for our LGBTQ+ community. Can you talk about some of the events that have made maybe some question whether they belong, are loved, or supported in their identity?
Sure. I think there's been a variety of challenges, from attacks on transgender youth in sports to attacks on transgender individuals being able to use their pronouns and affirm name in schools. to the up in Davis County, calling the use of pride flags or Black Lives Matter flags political. These are symbols that really help people feel belonged and are basically us and our communities standing up and asserting that we have a right to exist. And so that's a really critical piece, particularly when we're trying to save lives. Pronouns save lives. Being able to affirm our transgender and non-binary community members is a critical aspect. So again, as I mentioned the story earlier, that 13-year-old, we need to make sure that we are standing up as a community and our allies, showing that these kids and even adults that are not yet out have support and belong here and can live happy, healthy lives.
Well said. Stacy, what are some ways that you're going to be using your experience from DC to continue advancing the cause towards equality and inclusion here in Utah? As in, what do we still need to work on to improve the quality of life for our LGBTQ plus friends and family?
Well, I think healthcare access is a critical piece. Right now we're in an assessment phase as I've joined the Utah Pride Center as to how we can grow and provide those healthcare services, ensuring that people have access to affirming healthcare and in a comprehensive way, from primary healthcare to dental care to access to behavioral health. That's where my expertise lies, and really it was really heartening in February when all of this was happening, that when I was back on the East Coast, to hear the governor speak in such emotional terms and understand that there are young people out there that really do need our love and support. And so I do think that there's a phenomenal opportunity here. Utah is thriving, and our economy is dependent on attracting talent to this state. And you know, as I see so much talent out there that is, there are LGBT members or family members. You know, if we're trying to attract folks here, if people can't get a healthcare access for their kids, that's not going to be an incentive for businesses to move here to really help Utah's economy even grow further. So I think we've got a lot of potential opportunity for growth and working with different intersectional communities. I really want to work on expanding access into rural areas, since I grew up in a rural area, expanding access to our virtual services, and I think really partnering with our BIPOC community members.
We're excited to have you, and we're excited to see what you'll be working on in the upcoming years. Tanya, I will give the final words to you. We'll have to wrap soon. What is your parting message to our viewers, or what would you like to leave them with tonight?
I would like to let them know that we are here. We're virtually here, so you can reach out to us virtually. We have the youth, the elders, the mental health doing a virtual panel. What else would I like to? I would just like everybody to come down and celebrate. Sign up on Facebook, sign up at utahpridecenter.org, and just enjoy our allies. The community is going to be fun.
It's going to be a good time this weekend, right?
Oh, it's going to be a blast. And you know, it's going to be awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah, and we will dive into the details of that event coming up next. But for now, you've been hearing from Stacey Jackson-Roberts, the CEO of the Utah Pride Center, and Tanya Hawkins, the board vice chair for the Utah Pride Center. Thank you both for joining us tonight to have this conversation.
Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you for having us.
We'll be right back. Welcome to our third and final In Focus discussion tonight on National Coming Out Day. Rounding out our conversation tonight is Emily Walker, Volunteer Engagement Manager for the Utah Pride Center. Emily, great to have you and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rosie. We're happy to be here.
Emily, Sunday is the Utah Pride Center's second annual road rally. Tell us where the idea for the event came from and what the objective is.
The biggest thing that we wanted to achieve last year particularly was getting the community together. The pandemic really hit hard for so many people all over the world, but especially the LGBTQ plus community. And because we weren't unable to do a full festival in June last year, we had to come up with a way to, for one thing, fundraise the critical funds that we need for our life-saving programs and services, but also to get our community together, let them know that we have missed them, we love them, and we wanted to celebrate them and get together to make sure that they know that they are seen. The whole goal is to celebrate the community, and we wanted everyone to be able to participate instead of just attend a festival, and it was way bigger than we expected last year.
I'm so glad that you all were still able to put something on, because we know that COVID-19 was so isolating, right? Especially for these individuals who maybe lack the support at home and rely on these community events to get that support, that validation that they need, right? For some, it's life-saving. So during the event's inaugural year last year, you were all faced with trying to navigate plans during the COVID-19 pandemic. So how has this year's planning process compared to last year's?
Last year, we really focused on being COVID safe and family friendly, which is of course a focus this year as well. But our planning was a little different because it was so big last year. We really wanted to do something a little bigger, involve more of our community partners. We even had a few other in-person events planned, but because of the spike of COVID cases, most recently, we had to kind of scale back the event. We're hoping to make it even bigger, have picnic areas for next year for our community to come out and watch. But hopefully this year you'll see way more bang than what we even had last year.
Every single year will be bigger and better, right? You just take the experience from last year, you apply it to this year, and you just make every single year along the way more fun, more bigger, right? Yeah.
That's the plan.
That's the plan. So, Emily, you touched on this in one of your earlier answers. I'd like to elaborate on it. You talked about programs and services, right, that the Road Rally will help support. Give us a deeper look into what those programs, resources are.
Our most important job at the Utah Pride Center, besides mental health services, is our suicide prevention program, our youth and family services programming, our SAGE program for our elderly individuals. The funds that we raise at all of our large events are so key to help us continue this important work. With our suicide rates being so high in Utah, especially among our youth, it's a very critical piece of our work at the Pride Center that we need to continue. And without raising funds at events like Road Rally, like our Pride Festival in June, we'd be unable to continue that important work and save lives.
Yeah, Emily, then who is this event for? Who would the Utah Pride Center like to see participate in the Road Rally?
We would like to see everyone. Your friends, your family, allies. If you're a member of this community, if you're a supporter of this community, go to utahpridecenter.org, get registered, raise some funds, come out, decorate your vehicle, enjoy 2 hours of just absolute fun, being surrounded by love and acceptance, and we want to see every face in Utah if we really could.
And walk us through the route for the Road Rally. How is this going to work?
Once you register at utahpridecenter.org, you'll pick a rendezvous point. We've got 9 points all along the Wasatch Front, all the way from Davis County down to Utah County. You'll meet at 11 a.m. You'll get your car decorated, have a little bit of a tailgating party with the members of those communities, and then you'll follow a pace car up to the beginning of the rally, which starts on Main Street at 800 South. And then you will drive all the way down to about 2000 South, get your picture taken with some fantastic drag queens and kings, turn around, finish, and go back up the same way you came and end at 800 South. And then last year we had individuals go over and over again and go the full 2 hours, and it's just as fun every time.
All right, and before we wrap, give us the rest of all the details needed for the Road Rally. Maybe you talked about the time, where people should meet. What should they bring? Any other details that you want to include before we have to toss the break?
We would love to see rainbows, balloons. We actually have a local partner called Locally Twisted that's doing beautiful balloon arrangements. If you don't know what to do with your vehicle, he'll get it put together for you, locallytwisted.com. We want you to, if you don't even want to decorate your car, you're more than welcome to come down and just enjoy and be a part of the caravan. 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., utahpridecenter.org, get registered.
It's going to be a good time, Emily, isn't it?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
You've been hearing from Emily Walker, Volunteer Engagement Manager for the Utah Pride Center. Emily, thank you so much for being here to share this information with us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Rosie.
We'll be right back.